That will be the day that I gave up drinking. Just randomly sat down, lights shining. I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm going to pass out. Heart rate is like really going, struggling to breathe. And I looked at my missus and I was like, don't know what's happening. Like, I can't breathe. And do you know what? I need to prioritize getting over my anxiety. And alcohol is something that's not helping me. In fact, it's making it worse. Finish work, sit down, and as soon as my brain was like, oh, it's time to relax, anxiety attack.
In this episode, I sat down with Reiss, a strength and conditioning coach for combat sport athletes. We spoke about his journey giving up alcohol and the social norms surrounding it. We spoke about his battle with anxiety and social shedding he experienced on his journey towards growth. We spoke about why strength and conditioning is important for combat sport athletes and where most combat sport athletes go wrong. My favourite part is where I challenge Reiss to reach out to his best friend and ask him about mental health, something he's never done before. All I'm going to say is don't miss it. Here's what Reiss had to say about our conversation.
Hey mate, thanks. Yeah, that's same likewise, mate. It was really, really good. Honestly, I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to you because I just wouldn't say it otherwise. But that was honestly one of the best podcasts I've been involved in. I thought the conversation was really good, and like I say, people are going to get so much value for it.
Let's dive straight in.
Yes.
September the 5th, 2024.
Yeah.
Why is that date significant to you?
You've done your research, and it actually took me a minute when you said that. I was like, oh God, what's going on there? Yes, now you've said it. That will be the day that I gave up drinking, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I got it right.
Confirmed.
Right. It's very rare the host knows more about me than I do. But yes, that is the day that I knocked alcohol on the head, yeah.
Why?
Good question. So I'd actually done 6 months the year before, from September actually, funny enough, through to about March or April time. So about 7 months I did. Because I was drinking a lot less and I wanted to see if I noticed any difference from not drinking. And funnily enough, when I went back to drinking the occasional drink on the weekend, nothing crazy, 2 or 3 drinks, didn't notice any difference during the actual 6 months. And then when I went back, I was like, oh, I do actually notice the impact on my week, my energy levels, my consistency. Few months of drinking here and there. We actually went on holiday in the August and drinking like you do on holiday, probably, not excessive, but sharing a bottle of wine, having a few pints, whatever. And on the flight back, I had what I thought was a panic attack where just randomly sat down, lights shining. I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm going to pass out. Heart rate is like really going, struggling to breathe. And I looked at my missus and I was like, don't know what's happening. Like, I can't breathe. So the whole flight, I'm there and I'm literally, as soon as I stop back, starts again. So the whole, I think it's 2-hour flight, was having to do that just to feel normal. Very weird. Never had anything like that before. Once I kind of investigated it and sort of realized what had happened sort of in the weeks after or the days after, it was an anxiety attack, which at the time I didn't know what it was caused by. But for me, it was like, okay, I've had a heavy week of drinking and this has happened. It's a bit of a coincidence. I'm going to stop drinking now. And after that, that triggered just a level of anxiety in me on a day-to-day basis where I was having periods in crowds where I felt anxious, getting on the tube, which I've done my whole life. I couldn't, it was horrible. Felt very claustrophobic. Anything with a confined space was just making me have these really big bursts of anxiety. And even to the point in the evenings where finish work, sit down, and as soon as my brain was like, oh, it's time to relax, anxiety attack. Had to walk around the block, breathe in for like half an hour. And yeah, it just wasn't a nice experience. And I've never had anything like that in my first 33 years of life. So it was, 32 at the time. It was very, very was quite scary and quite new and quite like, oh God, what's going on? So that was the catalyst of me saying, do you know what, I need to prioritize getting over my anxiety, and alcohol is something that's not helping me. In fact, it's making it worse. So it was a no-brainer for me to just knock it on the head.
How serious were you about quitting? Because I know loads of people go out, drink on the weekend, drink in the week, get a hangover, feel anxious like you're describing, and they say, right, I'm done, I'm never drinking again. But weekend after comes around and they're drinking. So how serious were you?
I'd say very serious. As I say, over the last like 3 years, I'd probably cut down a lot. Probably drinking once a week, a couple of drinks. Gone periods without drinking, like a month here, a month there. But because of the way I felt with the anxiety, I didn't have a choice. Because if I was choosing to drink, it was almost like I was accepting being anxious. And I really didn't want to feel anxious and have these anxiety attacks. Like it was almost, I wouldn't say it was controlling my life, but I didn't want it escalated to the point where you hear of people who can't go and socialize, can't leave the house. I know that's way down the line, but I knew that, you know, it could probably happen and escalate there quite quickly because I've gone from no anxiety to not being able to chill out in the evening. So I'd say I was very serious. Like in my mind, it was, I'm done. And I've always been like this. Like when I make a decision, I'm very good at sticking to it. You know, I've committed to it. So I won't go back. And I said I want to do a year. That was the time frame I gave. After that point, I was like, I don't know. I might go back to drinking. I might not. But I was like, I'm going to do a year minimum, get over this anxiety first. If it takes longer than a year, it takes longer than a year. But that was like my minimum time.
How's your anxiety now?
Do you know what? Loads better. I started talking to a therapist. So this was in the August when it happened. The last big anxiety attack I had was on Christmas, the 23rd of December. Really big one. Had to walk around outside for like an hour. Christmas Eve just felt drained and anxious and terrible, and Christmas Day as well. And I was like, right, I need to actually get a grips of this thing. So I started speaking to a therapist in the new year. And I would say by March time, so after about 12 sessions of one a week, night and day. So I could go to crowded places, things like buses where I was getting anxious. It was anywhere where I couldn't get out if I wanted to, sort of thing, like claustrophobic, which she said was because when it happened in a plane is claustrophobic. So your brain's just now said anything claustrophobic you're going to freak out about. So I'd say by the March time, 12 weeks, loads better. In that 80% of my life I could go about and it was fine. Evenings I could chill out again. The tube was still the big one, and planes as well, obviously. But yeah, quite quickly actually I noticed a difference. And as anything, when you start talking to a therapist, you tend to have to go 3, 4, 5 steps backwards before you can actually go forward. And actually knocking alcohol on the head on the whole had that, and I don't think that's spoken about enough. There's all these benefits to not drinking, but I had a lot of downside in that it was the first time probably since I was 18 that I had this clear period of not drinking. And so it unearthed all these things that I had never had to give attention to, all these things that I'd covered up by drinking. And now I didn't have the alcohol. I was like, I've been suffering with that. That's interesting. Oh, typically when I feel like this, I then go to the pub and then I forget about it and it's gone. Whereas without the alcohol now, there was 3, 4 different things coming up that I had to then deal with. So it was like 3 steps back to go 5, 6 steps forward. But now I would say I'm like 80% there. The anxiety in terms of day-to-day basis is almost completely gone. Go to games, get on the tube now is even a lot better. I got on my first flight in May, which was okay. Only an hour to Belfast. A little bit of deep breathing, but it was okay. And now, actually, funny enough, it's more health anxiety that I've unearthed, which we found out was the root cause of the anxiety. And when I was then stressed with work, had alcohol on top, tired, not sleeping, boom, it went over the threshold. But the health anxiety, funny enough, is the thing that I've been suffering with since I was about 12. And I just didn't know, which is crazy. Crazy.
And you're quite open about therapy. How easy was that to reach out for help?
quite easy. I'm quite into mindset. I love learning about why things happen to me and the way my mind works. And so I found it quite, yeah, I'm quite open with it. I'm quite, I like it. I don't mind telling people I'm on a therapy call. Yesterday, actually, my girlfriend, her sister, and a work colleague was working from mine. And I just sat in the garden on my therapy call and then came in. They were like, "Oh, how was your call?" Assuming it was work. I was like, "Oh, it's just my therapy call. I do it once a week." So I'm quite open to it. I find it really interesting in terms of mindset, why I react the way I do. So I almost see it as more of like a training process than, oh, I really need help and I'm talking to a therapist because my mind's not quite right. So I guess it's perspective really, isn't it? And I think maybe if I had the viewpoint of, oh, I shouldn't be speaking to a therapist unless something's wrong with me, I might be more holding back on less forthcoming. But I see it as I'm looking to grow, develop, fix myself, work on myself, be a better person, a better businessman, a better husband eventually, a better dad eventually, like all these things. And so I'm quite open with it.
I love that mindset.
Yeah,
I love it.
Are you open to that sort of thing? Or?
I'm very much the same. I've been counselling, therapy, done it all, and that, obviously, and I like to advocate for it now because I see it as it helped me grow, and I tell people be proactive.
Yeah.
Don't wait until your lowest moment to go and get support.
Yeah.
Get support when you've got a bit of energy and resources to really use the resources therapy gives you. Everything you said about alcohol, I think, is the same across the board for everyone, but everyone has something different that they use to block all these things out.
100%, couldn't agree more.
Alcohol, whatever it is that this problem, this addiction is, that's not the actual issue. It's the things underneath. It's almost an escape.
Yeah, do you notice what I found with it is that there's, I could list on a piece of paper everything I need to work through, and even some things that are a strength of mine. So what would be a good example? Good example is this. When I moved from East London primary school to Essex secondary school, I went from every single race in my classroom to saying good morning in 5 different languages to being one of 3 non-white kids in the school, which comes with some issues of racism and that kind of stuff. And that's actually the benefit of it, is that it's built a mental resilience in me that I can do anything, and I'm very straight-minded, which has helped in business and all that sort of stuff. But since, again, speaking to therapists over years, even the stuff that you think has really benefited you has a way that, without you even knowing, has created these beliefs, these ways of doing certain things, and all these little experiences that you have all kind of intertwine into one. So like you mentioned, the estrangement of the family situation, that's probably very much tied in with something else that you then needed help with. And I find it really interesting. And the other thing you mentioned in terms of like the escapisms, whether it's drink, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, masturbation, a lot of guys go to that. Mine, because I'm very, obviously with my job, I'm very health conscious. So I've dabbled in drugs and all that kind of stuff, gone to Creamfields and had crazy weekends and that stuff, but never out of control. And my biggest, over the last 8 years, form of escapism, which nobody would ever see a problem with, was my business. That was my addiction. And to the outside looking in, there's no problem. Oh, he works hard. He's growing his business. He's driven. He's all these positive things. But inside, I was using my business to give myself self-worth. Oh, look, I work with this athlete. Look, I must be good. I was not socializing. I don't need a relationship. I'm dealing with heartbreak now. I'm just going to go harder on my business. And it was like when I spoke to a therapist, she was like, that's your escapism. And I was like, damn, you're so right. She was like, if I took away business and replaced that with drugs, alcohol, it would be an issue. But because it's business, it's not seen as an issue, but the effects and the impact on you are just as bad. And I was like, damn, so not all addictions are seen as bad, which was quite interesting to me and quite eye-opening.
Yeah, for sure. And I had a similar period where I invested 99% of my time into work. Everything else was neglected.
Yeah.
But no one's seen an issue with it because like you say, you're working on a business, you're working hard. It sounds like your business became your identity.
Exactly, you've literally hit the nail on the head. It was who I was. Yeah. It was, the business has had a bad day, I'm bad. The business is going good, I'm good. I work with a fighter no one knows of. I got no self-worth. I work with a world champion. Oh, I must be really good and people want to hang around with me. And like, yeah, you've literally hit the nail on the head.
So my question is, who's Reiss without the business?
Ooh, cracking question. No, I've never been asked that on any podcast. I like that question. Who is Reiss? So I would say I'm a mix of extroverted and introverted, and probably like a lot of people, bang in the middle. I'm extroverted around my closest friends. So typically, let's say my uni mates, there's 5 of us, they're my best mates. I would be my most hyperactive, funny, outgoing self. And on the flip side, sometimes I don't want to see anyone. And I want to sit at home and just be by myself and go sit and have a coffee with that's one of my favorite things to do on a weekend morning, take the dog out, sit on a coffee and just not see anyone. And, and I could go, well, lockdown I did. I went months without seeing anyone and I was fine. Like I enjoy my own company. A lot of the jobs I've had have always been on my own. So I'm very much a mix of those two things. I think previously I would come across as very confident, outspoken, when in fact it was probably an insecurity. I didn't feel like I had any self-worth, whereas now I'm very quietly confident in myself. I don't say as much, but I'm more confident now than when I used to say how good I was. So yeah, in answer to your question, I would say I'm an introverted extrovert. I enjoy now the simple things in life, which sounds like a cliche, but I do. I enjoy the simple things. I'm not anymore money motivated. I'm freedom motivated. And I'm in a place now where I'm kind of setting up what I guess for the stage 2 or 3 of my life, which will probably involve marriage, kids. And so everything I do is around creating the best life in that area that I can now. But yeah, I'm very, very simple in terms of what I like and what I do for sure.
What are the simple things in life?
So as I mentioned, weekend coffee, dog walk, no phone, just sitting there for an hour, just watching the world go by. Me and my girlfriend will do maybe a Saturday 10K and a coffee and a croissant. We go, this is quite sad. We go round and we'll plan our running route around where we can get a almond pan of chocolate, and we just go around trying different ones. And I rank them. I've got a notes page on my phone where I rank them. But that's a simple pleasure in life. Hikes, going out for good food, watching a Netflix series and chilling, going to the cinema. Just stuff that doesn't cost any money. Like I have found is like the stuff that I enjoy the most. And then of course I love traveling, and seeing places. But yeah, a lot of it just involves training, getting outdoors. This weekend, actually, funny enough, went on a mate's 30th birthday in Somerset. We were sort of staying at his girlfriend's parents' house. And it was just a very simple, wholesome weekend. We met up, went for a hike, went for a pub lunch, and then went back and just chilled, played darts, had a barbecue, sat around a fire and just spoke. And like that for me was just like a class weekend. So I think that's kind of what simplicity is, just good company and good food.
Is that a natural transition for people? Like, as you know, you're early in maybe late teens, from 18 to maybe 24, 25. Some people kind of drag that period out a lot longer. But where they're going out, clubbing, designer, nice car, the pursuit of all these things that are quite material, don't actually mean anything. Yeah. And then I've definitely found as I've grown and got older, I see more people moving into fitness spaces, doing the hiking, giving up the drinking, enjoying the coffees, getting outdoors, getting off the phone. Do you think that's a natural transition?
I think so, yeah. And I think people say it's like as you're getting older, and I think it is linked to age, but I only think it's linked to age, not because you're getting old, but because that's the process you go through. I think, you know, early 20s, you're figuring out who your friends are, what you want to do with your career. You're probably still living at home as well. And so you're in that kind of transition stage, whereas I think you get to your late 20s and you're kind of a bit more confident with who you are as a person. You've got your career and you're very driven in that. You've got your group of friends who, you know, through uni and school and that kind of stuff, you're forced to be together and make friends because you're not going to be at school and not have friends. So you've kind of got your friends who you've stayed in touch with despite the craziness of life. So you've obviously got deep connections there. You've got less time, so you're actually making time for the people you want to see and doing the stuff that you want to see or want to do. And I think, like, I can only speak from my own personal experience, but I know a lot of the period I went through where it was about the holidays and the cars and the nice clothes, I was just trying to make up for the period I went through of not being enough at school and being, you know, racially abused and that kind of stuff. I was trying to overcompensate for that. And then you hit a point where you're like, it doesn't even matter. Like, I am who I am, and that doesn't take any reflection of me. But I guess you only get to that point through getting older, which is why I think a lot of people tend to, you know, 28, 29, 30, have that simplicity and, you know, money kind of switch and transition and just kind of refining who they are as people.
Luckily, I went through that stage in lockdown, so a lot earlier than my peers and people my age. So
How old are you?
27.
Okay.
Yeah, so lockdown, I was just turned 23, maybe 22, 23, and I stopped drinking, stopped like binge watching TV, was reading, just changed little habits, spending a lot of time with myself. Didn't really listen to music, and just this period where I just had this massive change and just couldn't relate to anyone around me.
It's interesting that though, like, because I always ask myself this question, like, do you make that change out of circumstance, or regardless of whether we're in lockdown, we wasn't in lockdown, would you have been in a point where you're just ready to make that change? Or is where you're at in life and lockdown happening like the perfect storm for that to happen? Because like you say, you stop binge watching TV, whereas lockdown's probably the perfect time to binge watch series and stuff. So it's just, what do you think it is?
That's a good question, and I don't know, I believe in the path that I'm on, and I have faith that the path I'm walking is the one I'm meant to be on. So was it meant to happen? Yeah, it was meant to happen at that time. Would it have happened if lockdown never happened? Lockdown happened, so I don't know, I can't think about those things. I'm just glad it did happen. And yeah, during that time, big changes, stopped drinking, and a lot of people around me were still drinking, obviously still kind of living that, going out every weekend as people still do now, and they just couldn't accept that I weren't drinking.
This is interesting, right? I've had this without drink. Have you drunk since, or have you completely stopped?
I have drunk since, but now it's probably nearly been a year that I've not drunk. But like, is like maybe once a year.
Yeah, okay. So when I stopped drinking, because you always hear this, don't you? Like, oh, through the process of growing, you're gonna have to cut people out. It's quite the cliche thing to say, and even more so when you stop drinking, people say you'll notice who your friends are and who's that. I massively had that realized, like huge, and it wasn't that I had to cut people out; it was that they cut me out. To be honest, you know, I had a good group of friends, some of them who I'd lived with for a year and a half before, like really good friends. And as soon as I stopped drinking, I weren't going out. That was it, really.
With bully friends.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? How much of it is actually you got a friendship, or how much is it just that you were drunk and, you know, well, what was your experience with that? Because I know you said that sort of people just couldn't accept it.
Yeah, I just get a lot of questions. You're not drinking? Why? You're not having a drink? And I just say, no. Like, I'm not one for making excuses and saying I'm driving. I'm just, I don't know. I was just confident in myself, quietly confident as you described, and it was just no, I'm not really interested in drinking, and as they couldn't accept it, I just stopped putting myself in them situations because they're not a good situation to be in.
Are you still friends with those people?
No.
Some of them? Any of them?
No.
No, really?
No.
Interesting.
No, yeah, and I think it's just a natural thing. As you grow, I believe you do lose people because you're here together, you grow, there's a gap. So if they don't grow as well to close that gap, it requires you to come back down. And I'm so invested in growth and being a better person for the people around me, for myself, building better habits, that I'm not willing to stop my growth for other people. So I guess to answer your question, you're the host now. Yeah, I lost people during that period, and it was tough, and I do miss the times we had, but at the same time I love where I'm at and I love the journey I went on. So I guess it's a positive.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people, I guess, who drink still will kind of listen to that and be like, oh, people who don't drink are always preaching about growing and they think they're better and all that stuff. And it's not a case of that, but you're just trying to develop in, other areas. And I'm pretty sure if the people who kind of stay in the same groups as they were at school and doing the same stuff, like I'll go home and visit some friends. I've got one friend in particular. We don't chat that much, don't actually have that much in common, but if he ever needed anything, it'd be there, and vice versa. And once a year, we might catch up. But they'll do the same thing every week. Pub, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's kind of... I think it's because they only, they assume, or they've been socialized into thinking that's just the way life goes. So it's not actually their fault, right? It's just their experiences and the way they've been socialized. But going back to kind of losing friends, I've noticed that, yes, I've lost some friends, as I've said, people who just won't even reach out to me. But not all my friends are similar to me in that they don't drink and are all about self-development. I've got my uni friends, for example, who are probably my 5 closest friends. They love going on a bender. They love it, and I'm still best mates with them all. And we're all dotted around the country, so we'll meet up 3-4 times a year. But I think the difference is they accept that and they support that, oh, you're on this mission of growing your business and you want to be better, and they kind of, you get the banter that you do and it's funny and, but they actually do support you. Like, I'm glad if it's going good. And I think now they'd even be in a position where if I said, oh, I'm going to have a pint, they'd be like, don't have a pint, do your year. Like you said, you're going to, and that's, I think the difference.
That's a friend.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the difference is that they support me in what I do. They still reach out. So I moved to London from Leeds, and they were the first group to be like, right, let us know weekend you're free. We're going to come down, we'll stay over and we'll see the new house and we'll go out. And that's the difference, I think. It's not necessarily about do you drink, don't you drink, are you into self-development, but are you actually a friend? And like, I can go out with these lot and do a whole pub crawl for a whole day, not drink an inch, and have a great time. Whereas the ones that I've kind of outgrown, I don't hear from, they've cut me out. And honestly, if I had to go and sit down with them for an hour without drinking, I think I'd be really bored. Yeah. Really, really bored.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think if you tell a friend, well, this is, I guess, is how to find out if they're a friend or not, that you're not drinking, I always say to people, tell them a reason. I'm not drinking because I want to better myself. I'm finding that alcohol's an inhibitor for me growing or doing this, or it's having a negative impact on my mental health, whatever it is. If it's a friend, they're going to say, totally get it, I support you. We can still go and do these things. Yeah. We don't have to go out and drink. We can go and do a spa day. We can go and get coffee. We can go for a run. We can go get food. Whatever it is, they'll support you. Whereas the ones that say, oh, you're boring, just come and have one, they're not a friend. They're not supporting you. If you've explained to them that it's having a negative impact on you and they're still encouraging you to drink, that for me is not the definition of a friend.
100%. 100%. I couldn't agree more. I always think about, like, I said I'm going to do my year, so 5th of September this year. But I always think, will I actually go back to drinking? I'm not sure. I always said I would, but what I'm finding now is that desire to be like, oh, I really fancy a Guinness or a red wine is slowly dropping off. And then there's some occasions where I'll be like, my stag do, let's say, or I'll have a few drinks then. But I'm like, why do I need to? Like, so I don't know, yeah. I'm not sure if I will.
Couple questions there. Is the stag do thing because it's a social norm?
think so. It probably is. It probably is a little bit of that. Probably, yeah. I'd say that. Or it may be a little bit to do with, like, I can appreciate that some of the funniest kind of nights I've had and like the giggly nights and the ones you kind of do remember are after a few drinks, right? So I'm very aware of that as well. But yeah, I assume it would be social norm type thing as well. But I think even then, if I drunk, it wouldn't be a binge like I used to. It would be like, for me, I've worked out the first 2 pints, that's the peak of the night for me. I enjoy it, like I said, I enjoy a Guinness and I enjoy a whiskey. So a pint of Guinness, a couple of JD and Cokes, and that's probably like my perfect night. So I'd probably only have a couple anyway. But yeah, it probably is more of a social norm thing, I would say.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're aware of what works for you. And I don't discourage alcohol. If you want to drink, cool. I just know it doesn't work for me. Like, so if you've got that awareness, then great. I'd just challenge people who drink out of habit and they're on autopilot and they drink because they just think that's what they should do. But if you reflect on the impact it's having on you and you can say, actually, it's not benefiting me in any way, that doesn't mean don't stop hanging around with your friends. Like, you can still go out with them, just have a lemonade, just have a 0%, whatever it is. Stop. Please don't tell me you're watching without subscribing. Don't be that guy. Hit that subscribe button to show your support. Back to the episode.
That would be actually one of the best benefits I've noticed. I don't know about yourself, but not drinking in big social situations, I felt my confidence or self-confidence go up so much. Like, I always used to be that guy who was talking to someone, like constantly drinking. As soon as the glass is empty, I'm going to go get another drink. Feel quite awkward talking to people. Like, I had to keep the conversation going. Whereas now, I feel very confident in big groups of don't need a drink in my hand at all. Because there was a spell when I was having Diet Cokes. And I was drinking so many Diet Cokes, I was just wired at night as well, which is probably counterproductive. But I can go without having a drink in my hand at all. I'm just confident to talk. I'm much more confident if I'm chatting to someone newish and it goes silent. I don't feel as awkward. I'm happy to just sit there for, I don't know, if we're in a big social, like a party or something, where I'll just go sit on the sofa and just, not even on my phone, but just sit. Just happy to sit there and not be thinking like, oh, does everyone think I'm a loner? Am I on my own? Should I be like, I'm just, that is probably one of the 2 biggest benefits I've felt from drinking, not drinking. So, and the other one being, like this weekend, for example, is away. So we had 1:30 finishes, up at 7 because I was doing a bit of work, where if I was drinking as well, this whole week would be a write-off in terms of food, training, work. Whereas even after not sleeping well, I feel very motivated, very positive. I've trained good. I'm ready to eat, and I'm eating good and making good decisions. And they're the 2 ways actually I felt the most benefit. But especially that social situation one, like my confidence in those situations is massive.
That's what you emit, though. That's the energy you give off, and that's what you want, right?
Yeah, like I always used to look at people and be like, I admire how they're just so confident just to sit there and not say anything. I couldn't do it. But I can do it, and I'm doing it now.
And it's a mindset thing. I tell people all the time, stop saying you can't. Stop using that language. Yeah, shout out to anyone who drinks watching this episode because they're gonna hate it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they will.
Yeah, they're gonna hate it. Question actually before I dive into some stats. Alcohol is the only drug you have to justify not using. Why?
I think just because of social acceptance. That's literally the only reason, because since way back in time, people have been drinking. That's the only reason. Like, if you was to write a list of the things people do or the health risks to drinking, take away the name alcohol and say, switch it to drugs, people would say that is not acceptable.
Ban it.
Yeah, ban it. You shouldn't be doing it. Like, health-wise, really bad, obviously. The things you do when you're drunk, there's a line where it goes from fun to anger or stupid. You know, you've seen people kill themselves from doing stupid stuff. You've seen people kill other people through being angry and doing something. Like you say, if you was to write up alcohol, take away the name, people would be saying to ban it. So the only like legitimate reason is because of just, we've been brought up to accept it. You know, when you're younger, you know, parents will be drink, like, it's funny, isn't it? Like, I've got pictures of me asleep on the sofa and then just a bottle of champagne's been popped next to me just to make it look like and it's just normal, right? Going to the park at 14 and having some drinks, and it's just normal. It's just what you did. So I think that is the only reason. And of course now that won't change because there's so much money in the industry. You're not gonna, you know, get rid of one of the biggest earning things in our economy, are you? It's just not gonna happen.
On that note,
got the stats. I like it.
Yeah. Only a couple, and it didn't take long to find these at all. This is just to bring them to the forefront and echo what you just said and back it up. So alcohol misuse is a significant contributing factor to mental health problems and suicide risk. Approximately 70% of individuals in alcohol treatment have mental health needs. Alcohol and or drugs are factors in 61% of care applications in England, indicating the significant impact on family stability.
That's huge, that one, isn't it?
Between 2019 and 2020, approximately 600,000 adults in England were estimated to be alcohol dependent. Estimated 1 in 5 children in the UK live in households where at least one parent has an alcohol use disorder, and these children are 6 times more likely to experience domestic violence, 3 times more likely to experience suicidal ideation, and twice as likely to develop an addiction themselves. In 2022, there were over 10,000 alcohol-specific deaths in the UK, the highest number on record. Liver disease has seen a 400% rise in hospital admissions in England alone in the past 30 years. Alcohol is a Group 1 carcinogen on par with tobacco and asbestos. So a carcinogen, any substance, agent or exposure that can cause cancer in living cells or tissue. Around 3,200 cancer cases in the UK per year are directly linked to alcohol, and there is no safe level of alcohol when it comes to cancer. What are your thoughts on them statistics?
Some of them are crazy, aren't they? Yeah, it's just wild, isn't it? Because again, like going back to what we just said about why is alcohol accepted, if you wrote down the list, like if you wrote down those stats, particularly the ones around kids, because people kind of relate and get a bit more sensitive around kids. But if you was to take away what caused those stats and you said there's something you're doing that's going to cause this as a nation, this is what we're doing, people would be in uproar. People would be saying, right, this needs to be fixed now. You know, that's not acceptable. And then you add from alcohol, and it's kind of like a little bit blasé, I guess, the attitude, like, meh. You know, well, I'm in control of drinking, so it doesn't really affect me. You know, my kids aren't one of those 5, so it doesn't affect me. But for something that, in theory, is so easily fixable, or adjusted at least, or controlled, it's massive, isn't it? The amount of money in terms of healthcare, you know, and we all know the NHS is getting very strained now. If people were to at least control the consumption of alcohol, how much of an impact would that have? You know, but again, it will never change. I feel like we're too deep into it now to go and undo the whole history of basically human race. I mean, they've been drinking from way, way, way back in the day. It's too much, isn't it?
And people hear me read them out and just say, don't care.
Because it's alcohol, right?
But even smoking,
yeah.
Smoking, I could probably read a list out as long or longer than that with similar or more severe consequences. People will look at it, don't care.
Yeah, it's. I guess it's not a weirdly, as humans, we got this like aura of invincibility. Like it doesn't seem real, right? All these health risks, right? Terrorism doesn't seem real when it's going off in Spain, or even like, stuff that's going on in Syria, or, it's, well, we hear about it, but it's not near us. But then the 7/7 stuff happens, and it's like, whoa, this is on our home turf. Terrorism's real, and everyone's a bit more nervy. And so we've got this air of like, unless it happens to you directly, it doesn't exist. So it doesn't actually become an issue until it's an issue because you've been diagnosed with something. Like it's a weird trait of humans that we almost need that diagnosis, or that event, we'll call it, of something bad happening to actually make a change, because we just don't think it's going to happen to us. And I think that's what it is. And that's why you see a lot of people have a health scare, or I don't know, maybe their marriage breaks down, or relationship with their kids, and then they're like, oh, I need to make a change, because before that it's like, it won't happen to me.
And some people still, it happens to them, and
yeah. And then you got people as well on the other side who say, well, I could live like a monk and I could still get cancer, and it's all good and well, but you should still try and improve your health. I was having this conversation. Well, I had a conversation with my dad. So my family's got a really bad history of heart problems, where my health anxiety come from. So my dad's twin passed away at 36 from a heart attack. His dad passed away from a heart attack. My dad's had heart issues. One of my friends died at football training from aneurysm. So I've always had, since the age of 12, like these heart problems in my family, and it's subconsciously caused the anxiety. But I was talking to my dad, and he, so I was getting some checks done, just blood tests, ECGs, just the base ones, just because I'm getting towards that age now. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. And I sort of said to him, like, I'm getting this. And he sort of went on saying, yeah, I've had like angiograms done. I've had this one, and oh my God, I had this one and this one and this one. It was almost like he was like laughing about it. And I said, yeah, but you'll never catch me in a position where I'm having that. And he's like, well, you can do all that stuff of eating healthily and, all that, but you sometimes you don't have a choice. And he probably didn't mean anything by it, And of course you can live as good as you can and things happen, that's just doing. But it was almost, I was sitting there thinking, yeah, what a bad attitude to have though. As a father, you should tell your son like, oh, yeah, you should be eating well. Like, you should go train. You don't have to have that at all. You can, control your fuel. And it's that same sort of thing, isn't it? Sometimes people are just like, I can't really change or impact anything, so I just won't bother. Because like, it's almost like the possibility of getting something isn't as strong as the effort of having to go on your walk or cook nice meals. It seems more effort to do those things. And people have the comfort of saying, well, it was going to happen anyway. They got no choice in it. It wasn't anything to do with me. It was just the cards I were drawn. And it's just weird, isn't it? As a human race, we've got that attitude.
It's the mindset thing. Yeah. 90% of people, maybe more, are just have that poor mindset. And I'm not calling anyone out, so don't get offended.
We're going to get so many hate comments on this episode.
But it's true, like what I said to you about saying, I can't do that, I can't do this, I'll never be this, or it's like they just don't try because they have that mindset of, oh, I'll never reach this, or they're so lucky. And it's like, you don't know the work the people put in that you're calling lucky, the positions they put themselves in, the sacrifices, the free stuff that they do to get themselves where they are. And I think that's another reason why people just repeat in life, where I like to say they're in the passenger seat of life, cruising along, go to work, go to the pub, rinse and repeat. And if that's the way you want to live, cool, like I'm sure you have a lot of fun doing it. I just know it's not a life for me.
100%. Like, I think about like death all the time, not all the time, but I think about it as in like one day, because I can see my grandparents now, both granddads, both sides are dead. My nan on one side's got dementia now, so probably doesn't have, I'd say, a year to live. Like, it's quite bad now. And it's like, we're alive for such a small time, aren't we? Like, and I'll talk to her and I'm like, she just says how quick time has gone. Like my other nan, I was around her house the other day, and she's going to be turning 84, I think. She was like, yeah, I'm going to be 84. And I was like, oh yeah, you got everything planned? And she kind of just went quiet and was like, oh, it goes so quick. And I'm like, does it? Like, does it go quick? She's like, yeah. It's crazy.
That scares me.
Yeah, and it petrifies me because I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm, one day we're going to be in the last 5-10 years of our life, and I don't want to be that person who's like, man, I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have enjoyed life more, taken a risk more. I don't think I'm going to be looking back going, oh, I really wish I would have worked a bit more, or so I always think about it, and I'm just like, who do I want to be when I'm older? And I just, my biggest fear in life is getting older and having regret. Like, it's honestly, it petrifies me. And like some of the choices I've made now, people are like, oh, that's risky. And I don't have the savings that some people have because I've invested a lot into my business and into traveling and things like that, but that's just the way I want to live. And like, yeah, it just scares me a lot being that guy who's 80, unable to get around and stuff, and be like, damn, I should have done more. And like and this is getting into a completely different topic, but the whole, what you're saying, like going to the pub, save up for your yearly holiday, you go away for 2 weeks and you just rinse and repeat and do that year on year on year on year. You get a job, buy a house, have kids, go on your yearly holiday. And it's like, yeah, it's just crazy, that whole mindset that you sacrifice from 20 to 70, probably now 50 years, so that you can retire. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
And most people are doing things they hate.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense because when you get to 70, you can't be asked to do anything. Like, I think the idea is really good. Like, you have all this free time, you're going to go travel. But I'm already watching my parents who are not even 60 yet, and their drive for doing that stuff is already coming down.
Decline.
Yeah, and so like, why would I work 50 years and sacrifice all enjoyment to have a life at 70 when I probably ain't as able-bodied, less drive, less motivation, probably don't want to be traveling around halfway across the world. Like, for me, it makes more sense to do it in reverse and be like, okay, let's have an amazing 50 years where maybe we don't save as much money. Maybe my pension's not as big. Maybe I don't own a property by the time I'm 25, but I'm going to have an amazing, amazing time. And if I get to 70, 80 years old and I'm living like on the bare minimum, so be it. Like, that's just the way I think. And maybe I'll get to that age and regret it. Like, there's a chance I'm wrong. And maybe I'll get to that age and I'm in a little house and my pension isn't enough to afford X, Y, and Z. But I'll be content, I think, knowing that it's all right. It's good 60 years, 70 years. I don't know. Like, what's your thought?
I like that, the reverse mindset of...
Do you think about that sort of stuff in terms of like...
Yeah. More of recent, to be fair. I just think, just do it now. There's no time like now.
And also, who knows if you're going to get to 80?
That's something I thought when you said it. I was like, there's no guarantee I'm going to be here in 5 years, never mind 70.
Yeah, so I got this thing where, like, when I sit down and sort of plan how I want life to be, like, me and my missus, we've been talking about this, like, the next 3 years, probably marriage, kids, move out of London. I want to travel more, so we're weighing up, do we do a couple of years in Spain or Portugal, or like, how does it work? And I always try, like, I think the thing that I try and balance is setting up my life in a way that I'm going to live forever, and sprinkling some stuff that as if I'm going to die in a year. It's like the mix of both, because that's for me what it's about, right? You want to, if you had to live forever, would you be putting up with that job that you hate? Would you be putting up with the friends you don't like? Would you be what would you be doing if you had to live forever? And then it's like, okay, we're not going to live forever, so how do we fit in the stuff that we really want to do? And it's like finding a balance of that, and that's where I'm at in life in general, is engineering my life around, on a day-to-day basis, I just love my life. I love going to work, the hours I work, the things we do as a family or whatever. But then on a yearly basis is we're doing the traveling, we're doing the experiences. And like, that's where I'm at in life now over the next 3 years, is putting that together.
Yeah. No, that's a amazing way to live, because like you said, most people maybe do the experiences once, twice a year, but the rest of the year living a daily life they hate. And I don't know, when you look back, yeah, you did the experiences, but day to day, there's a lot of time. It means way more than the once and twice a year vacation experience. That's the bulk of your life. So I like the fact you're engineering it that way. Best of both worlds.
And it is hard.
Of course.
It's so hard because I've got commitments with work, so I can't just, well, it's funny enough, I probably could go and work anywhere, but my girlfriend can't. She has to have holidays, so we can't, just jet off. So it's like balancing it out. When do we do it? When do I do it on my own? If we have kids and does that mean I can't jet off at all for a week to go and work somewhere? Like, how does it work? So yeah, it's very much I was actually thinking about this on the drive down here. Like, the next 3 years is going to be such an exciting time. And I'm trying to focus lately on just being really present, because I've always been guilty of looking ahead, what's next. But like, just being really present now, just enjoying the small things and the actual cliche, but enjoying the process of getting to that point. Because I'm very aware that there's been previous times where I've wanted to do something for so long and done it, and because I've not enjoyed the process there, I'm like, oh shit, that's done. That's done forever. Like, I didn't enjoy it at all. So I'm trying to like be very present in that process of putting that all together now.
It's tough though to be present, and especially if the journey's tough, because you want it. I mean, we're designed for comfort and to just stay away from anything that's tough and hard, and it's hard to be grateful and enjoy the process of things.
It is, because you always hear like the cliche of failures are like you learn from failures and and you have to go through tough parts to get out. But when you're in a hard spot, that's cliche sentences mean nothing to you. Your mind is telling you to give up. Like, since I moved online and moved to London, I essentially started the business from scratch. So I built it up for 6 years, got to a point where I was happy with, and then moved to London and moved the business online. It was like, oh shit, I'm back at rock bottom. And for like a year and a half, it was so like way harder than I thought it was going to be. And it was actually way harder than when I started the business from scratch the first time, because when it was the first time, it was new. And it was like, well, I'm starting like my entrepreneurial journey. This is what it should be like. Whereas after 6 years, I was like, I shouldn't be here again. And it was mentally really hard. And there was times where, I'm on the whole, I'm pretty good at that sort of stuff, and I just keep plugging through. But there was times I was saying to my girlfriend, like, I think I'm just going to stop this now. I'm going to just get a job. I don't think I've got the energy to get this through again. And I don't really mean it, but it was really, really challenging. And like, staying present and celebrating the wins. I was, again, on the drive. I do a lot of my thinking on driving, actually. But I was thinking on the way here, like, actually this month has been the best month since I moved online, and also probably equaling the best month I've ever had in my business. And I was like, oh, I should celebrate that, especially after the last 2 years of trying to build it. Like, that's a moment where I should celebrate it. So then I messaged my girlfriend when I got here, and I was like, let's go out for dinner Friday. Like, we should do something to celebrate that. And that's something I haven't done. But yeah, going back to sort of what's about hard times, yeah, when you're in them, none of that cliche stuff means anything. Your mind is just wanting you to get back to a comfort zone. And, I always deal with it by just committing. When I committed to online, that was my only option. There was no, I'll give this a year, and if it's not working, I'll get a job. It was just, this is what I'm doing now. And when you have that mindset, you start looking for solutions and not ways out. And also, like, just for experience, I know that, okay, I've been in a lot of shit show situations before. As long as you just keep going, at some point there's a breakthrough. And then that just that reaffirms in your mind that you get through hard times. If you quit, it's a downhill. You just become a quitter then, and then the next time becomes harder. What sort of stuff do you do? Do you have anything that you, in terms of hard situations, where you've seen have helped you through?
Cut. We got to stop the episode. You're watching this for a reason. I'm guessing it's the guest. If there's someone else you want to see on the podcast, drop the name in the comments below, and we'll make it happen. I resonated with kind of what you described about, you built this business for 6 years, and you moved to London, and it felt like, oh, I'm starting from scratch. So obviously before podcasting, I was working in the nutrition space, performance nutrition, and I got to this point where I committed so much to that career and work that, you know, it gave me that self-worth that you described, and work was my identity. But I was doing well, so I didn't care. Everything was working out, and when I had to step away and walk away from that career, and I didn't have a plan. I just decided I know I need to walk away. I just had a normal job, and I was like, I feel like I should be so much further along. Should have just stayed in it for the sake of it.
Is that because you felt like you should be, or was it more that you were thinking what other people were going to think?
Probably a mix of both, but from going from like you're smashing it in a certain space to, oh, now I'll just work at a normal job, whatever that means. It was just like, oh, I feel like back at level 1.
Totally get it. Yeah, I relate to that so much. When I moved online, I was still, so it's going back July 2023, I moved down to London. I was still driving up to Sheffield once a week and staying overnight, because that's where all my 5 elite fighters were. So like British champions, European champions, world champions. And in the end, it got too much in terms of hotel prices, traveling there and back. So I had to leave the gym. And when I did that, I felt exactly the same. It was like, oh, I'm not working with, they're my 5 biggest clients, and I've just stepped away from it. Now I only work with these fighters online. And it was more actually what other people were going to think, to be honest. I was more worried about people saying, oh, you can't be that good as a coach then if you've left. Like, I was assuming that people were assuming that they'd left me and I'd been sacked, or whatever it might be. And yeah, it's crazy, because so many people do that though, right? They don't make decisions or don't want to take a step back because of the fear of what other people will think. Like, you see that with people in a career, 20 years, don't want to leave because it's paying them for the nice house and stuff like that. Or, you know, with houses, you know, they don't want to downsize because of what that looks like. It's very strange, isn't it? Making decisions based on what other people are going to think, and when people aren't really thinking anything at all. No. It's strange, isn't it?
Yeah, we think too much about that, and I always have to remind myself that no one's thinking about me. No one cares.
Yeah, I read a quote once, and it was, we're not who we think we are. We're not who other people think we are. We are who we think other people think we are.
I think it's too early to comprehend that.
Yeah, no, so essentially what it's saying is, who we are as a person is what we think other people are thinking of us. Because that's exactly what it is, right? Like, we take a step back, oh, that person's going to think I'm not as good a coach, or that person's going to think I'm not earning as much money because I've just downsized my house. That person's going to think, but they're not thinking anything. It's just what we think they're thinking. It's just a big assumption. But that is exactly who a lot of people, or what a lot of people live their life by. And I've been so guilty of that in the past. So guilty. Like, so many things I've done where I'm like, why? Just because I wanted to look a certain way, or, you know, buying a nice watch, or getting a nicer car, or a car on lease that I didn't even need, and like stupid things. Buying tables in a club, like, all for what? Yeah, it's just stupid, isn't it? You laugh at it now, but so many people live life on like other people's terms, don't they?
For sure. That's, I mean, the wisdom you get from growing and hindsight is, I mean, it's good because, like you said, you can laugh at it, but going forward you can make better decisions. Yeah,
and I guess that's growth, right? If you're not looking back at yourself 5 years ago and kind of laughing at what you used to do, then I guess you're still in the same place, which no one wants to be.